Thank you, Sunil, for this opportunity, and thank you to your team as well for showcasing us from Davos. In fact, this pandemic has literally shown, not just to us, but the entire world, how important healthcare is, how important the entire life sciences industry is. In fact, we don't thank them enough. The entire pharmaceutical industry, the entire vaccine industry, the biotech industry, how invaluable they are is something that came to the fore during the pandemic. So let me thank, for lack of others on the podium, I think I should thank Prasad and the entire pharma industry of India. And in fact, one of the most important hubs for pharma industry in India is Hyderabad. For those of you who do not know, Telangana, in fact, is not just an important hub in India, but in fact, it is an important life sciences hub in the world. And the reason why I say that is because since we're just coming out of the pandemic, let me remind each and every one of you who's watching that 1/3 of human vaccines are actually produced from Hyderabad, globally, not India. In fact, 9 billion doses are produced, 9 billion doses of vaccines are produced from Hyderabad, and that accounts nearly to 1/3 of global vaccine production. So we are the vaccine capital of the world, not India alone. And then let me also add quickly, 40% of India's pharmaceutical production also happens from Hyderabad. And the third thing I'll quickly add also is that largest number of US FDA approved manufacturing facilities in any province in the world are actually in Hyderabad and Telangana. The second largest number is in New Jersey. So that goes to show you the importance of India's role in the pharmaceutical life sciences spectrum, and most importantly, how important a role Hyderabad and Telangana plays in that value chain. Now, going back to your question about how the manufacturing ecosystem has evolved over the last several decades, I think we've done okay. I wouldn't say we've done well. I think we've done reasonably well, but I think a lot more needs to be accomplished. One thing I believe, besides what you said, innovation, infrastructure and innovation, while these are extremely important pieces to talk about, I think a conducive ecosystem which nurtures, conducive regulatory framework which nurtures and encourages innovation and research and development by way of even incentivizing them is something that is sorely missing in India, unfortunately. And the second thing, unfortunately, we don't think on scale. In fact, if we have to compete with the best manufacturing destinations, biggest manufacturing destinations across the world, we need to start thinking on scale. In fact, Hyderabad and Telangana, we are launching world's largest pharma cluster in about 19,000 acres. I think that is when it will become a project of international importance, not just national importance. So we need to think on scale. We need to have more conducive governance towards innovation and nurturing our talent. I think that is what is missing right now. We've done okay because we've done okay because where are the real innovations coming from in the world today? Definitely not from India. I mean, while we can claim to be doing a lot of other things, innovation is not something real innovation is not something that's happening. I know Dr. Reddy's has tried and is trying, but it's not happening at the scale which it should. That's my point.
Right.
Minister Reddy, if we're talking about the crisis that some countries are still in, talk to me about what happened in Andhra Pradesh and the interruptions to healthcare there and how you managed that.
COVID was one particular pandemic that nobody ever anticipated. At least we have not seen that kind of pandemic in our generation. So it was something that was unprecedented. And the entire healthcare system, which was present till then, had to be re-looked into in order to prevent something, in order to be a formidable force. If at all something like this were to reoccur, then I think this actually taught us quite a few lessons, especially moving on to the importance of preventive and curative care, and also making sure that the healthcare system is available to everybody, is accessible to everybody, and also making sure that it is affordable to everybody. So all these aspects were an eye-opener to all of us. And within the limits that we had, we did everything what a country could do or a state could do. We were more focusing on tracing testing, and treating. Because, we, from my state's perspective, we are short on tertiary care. Because tertiary care, we were a newly formed state, and we do not have a tier 1 city like Hyderabad or Bangalore or Chennai, where private investment is huge coming in super specialty hospitals. So since we had that handicap with us, so we wanted to get into the early stage, detecting at the early stage. So we conducted almost 44 rounds of house-to-house survey. We had a robust system in place with the village secretariat at every village, a volunteer system for every 50 houses. We had 42,000 ASHA workers, also the volunteers dealing with health issues be present. And all these factors put together, we initiated this process of house-to-house survey. And in this close to 2 years of this pandemic, we've conducted almost 44 rounds of house-to-house surveys. So that was one of the primary reasons as to why we could cut the mortality rate. Even though the country's mortality rate was 1.21%, our state's mortality rate was the lowest in the country, 0.63%. So that's one of the primary reasons.